What's going on, Nerd Squad, and welcome back. Invincible was the talk of the town this year. It killed it over on Amazon Prime. The ratings were so good. I watched it every week. I look forward to it. It's so good. I'm so pumped for season 2 and 3, both confirmed, of course. Now, the show is based off Image Comics' Invincible from the mind of Robert Kirkman, and Omni-Man, aka Nolan Grayson, is voiced by J.K. Simmons in the show, and he comes from a planet called Viltrum. He's part of a race called the Viltrumites, who are these super-powered beings. Omni-Man is pretty much Superman, only his mustache is not digitally removed. It is actually quite gorgeous. I'm Taylor McWatters, and here are the top 10 Omni-Man victories. Let's count them down. Number 10, the Viltrumite Empire. When he was just a wee Viltrumite, a little Viltrum chap, Nolan's father Argal was taken out by a turncoat before his untimely death. Now, he was the leader of the Viltrumites, but the turncoat believed that violence was no longer the answer. So now Nolan was his young child. He didn't really remember much about his father, plus the Viltrumites hid Nolan's true heritage from the records. So if any villains come around, they don't take this super child, right? So they soon formed the Viltrumite Empire led by the new leader Thrag, and when Nolan was still young, he signed up for the Empire as soon as he could, and his first true victory came soon after. Now, Nolan was so successful in conquering planets that he became commander of his own unit in no time. And before we continue on with this list, over on number 9, if you want to give this video a thumbs up, that would be awesome. Also, spoiler warning for you guys. Yeah, we're gonna get in deep with the comics, so if you haven't seen the show or you've seen clips of it, you've been warned. You've been warned. Number 9, the final 50. The Scourge virus was created by the coalition of planets on the Viltrumite Empire. Now, the virus wiped out nearly all of the Viltrumites. We see this dark past unfold in issue 66. Now, the virus would weaken these Viltrumites, so the super strength and the invulnerability just out the window, gone. It's pretty nasty stuff too. It was created by Thaddeus, the same turncoat that was responsible for Nolan's father's demise, so a little something there. So eventually there were only 50 Viltrumites left, so the Empire whipped up a new plan. Since the Viltrumites can live for an extremely long time, like thousands of years, every remaining Viltrumite travels now across the universe, and then they pick a planet to infiltrate and then weaken its chance of resisting their inevitable takeover from the Viltrumites. So Nolan chose Earth. He chose us. He met Cecil Stedman, got caught up on human culture, and then took the last name Grayson to blend in. He was settled in on his new home planet. Nolan went from one of the last of his kind to a guy who lives in a nice house with a nice happy wife and a newborn son, Invincible. So Cecil got Nolan set up with his new alias, Omni-Man, with a suit from Art Rosebaum to go along with it. You gotta make it look flashy, right? Omni-Man told everybody this false story of why he was there, they all bought it, and now he stands mighty as Earth's savior. But just as there are supervillains lurking around to beat up, there are also other superheroes. So it didn't take too long for Omni-Man to meet the Guardians of the Globe, but I'll talk about them a little later. I'll save that for a bit. Number 8, the Flaxans. So Mark Grayson, Nolan's son, was of course blessed with the same powers as his father. So when Mark became a teenager, he got pimples, he got a little bit taller, a little bit more moody, and then he got the ability to huck garbage into space. What a fantastic awakening. So Mark discovered that his father was Omni-Man as well when he was 7 years old, and since then he dreamt of being just like him one day, and alas, that day has arrived.
You hear it?
I do.
Get ready. Were you nervous?
A little.
After Art Rosebaum comes through yet again for the young Viltrumite, Invincible and Omni-Man are ready to roll in style. Now, the super father and son duo battled the Flaxans first, and they succeeded in stopping them, but when Omni-Man rushed to save a bomb from going off, he was then taken by surprise from a Flaxan. Yeah, he saved them all from the explosion, but it was just a trap. The Flaxans got a hold of Omni-Man, and they took off. Now, I know we got taken, and this is like a dark time in the comics, but I will count this as a win because he saved them all from a big explosion. And besides, did you really think they could keep him for long? Think again. Number 7, the escape. The next issue, Omni-Man returns. Now, this seems to be a normal thing in the household because his wife, Debbie, wasn't too worried at all. He finally returns, he has a beard, he looks like he's been through hell and back. He shaves up and then he joins the family at the table. One of the biggest victories so far in the comics with Omni-Man happened, but time works differently where the Flaxans are. So Nolan, in fact, spent the last 8 months captured and enslaved, but in an alternate dimension. So it's only been a day back on Earth. Now, a week ago, on Nolan's time, he led a revolt against his captors and regained his superpowers, and today he was finally able to get home with the help of a team of scientists from the rebellion. Now, Debbie's reaction here is priceless. She's like, oh, that's nice, so who's ready for dessert, guys? It's a normal thing in the household, apparently, to disappear for 8 months into another dimension. Okay. Number 6, the Guardians of the Globe. Okay, I said spoiler warnings earlier, but if you skip through the like shout out, first of all, like the video. I'm gonna say it again, and also, big spoilers coming in. You've been warned, final warning. The planet's very own super squad, the Guardians of the Globe, they make their first appearance in issue 7. Now the team is a private organization funded by War Woman and Darkwing, and the other members are Red Rush, the Immortal, Green Ghost, Martian Man, Black Samson, and Aquarius. Nolan didn't join their team, he wrote solo, but he would still often help them save the day. Now if you're new to Invincible Comics and maybe you heard about it or saw it on Amazon Prime, maybe you watched the first episode just to see what it's all about, you were probably pretty shocked at how the end of the first episode played out. Even if you knew about what happens in the comics, this was still shocking. Now this thing happens way earlier in the show, and Invincible creator Robert Kirkman explains this. He says, having it move up, we do get an extra sense of, oh my gosh, Debbie has no clue what's going on with her husband, and how is she going to find out? Is she going to find out? So yeah, Omni-Man straight up destroyed the Guardians of the Globe. He calls them all to meet up, and then one by one, he just picks them off, like with ease, and it's so disturbing. There's no music, it's just intense, there's blood everywhere. If you haven't seen it, I recommend you watch it because that's really the kickoff to a whole series of wild events. Number 5, the Immortal. So the Immortal survives all of this, somehow. So after the Guardians of the Globe beat down, Immortal wakes up later on with the memories of Omni-Man's destruction. Omni-Man saves the day from a giant sea monster, and then the Immortal crashes down to take him on next. He wants answers, as you know, as he should. He doesn't get answers though. Instead, he gets Omni-Man's hands right through his body, cuts him clean in half. The fight doesn't last long at all. What started as Omni-Man saving the day ended up in one of Mark's worst days. Omni-Man tells Invincible the hard truth of his homeworld. We see flashbacks to Omni-Man's early days, taking out monsters alongside other superheroes. It looks good, but then he tells Mark that his mother is basically a pet compared to how long Viltrumites really live. And this day will only get worse. Number 4, he beat Invincible. Issue 12 is, that's just a mess. When Omni-Man first starts to train Mark, he was getting aggressive, but he wasn't pulling back punches per se. But then in this issue, when Invincible finds out Omni-Man's true desires, it gets brutal. He's like, look at this mess, one punch from us and thousands of these weak people lose their lives. They're flying over the city, just knocking buildings down one after another. It's destruction. All the while, harsh truths are also being thrown at Mark. Omni-Man tells him that his mother never meant anything to him, and then bam, they crash through a subway. He says he doesn't give a damn about anybody on this planet, they all mean nothing to him. But before Omni-Man leaves the planet, supposedly for good, he knocks Invincible around some more, this time even harder. Now the only punch he does pull back is right after Mark calls him dad one last time. Number 3, the Thraxans. So Omni-Man leaves, he can't take it anymore, he heads to another planet just to rule them. He wasn't supposed to hang out on Earth, you know, and make a family, he was supposed to be conquering the universe. So next he went to Thraxa, thinking maybe he'll take over that planet, and then maybe his sentence will be lessened when the Viltrumites eventually find him. Now their lifespan on this planet is only 9 months, so he easily becomes the ruler, having lived thousands of years. No destruction needed, just words will do the trick today. And they're like, hey man, we believe you, planet's yours, cheers, awesome, bye. Number 2, another family. Another planet conquered, another family, right? Let's keep this victory train rolling. So Invincible shows up now to see Omni-Man in his new glory, and he breaks down. He asks his father, he begs him to come back home. But Omni-Man is now comfy. He has a new mate, Andressa, and a new child. The child has purple skin, so the Viltrumites will consider that a genetic flaw, because they're assholes. So when the Viltrumites come, Omni-Man and his first son, Invincible, defend the Thraxans. Little turntables, that's cool. So Mark takes Andressa and his half-brother now to safety while Omni-Man continues the fight. Now Lucan attempts to capture Mark, but Omni-Man doesn't let that happen, does he? Nope. He saves the day, even on a different world. How lovely. And finally, number 1, another escape. So Norman ends up getting captured by the Viltrumites and put into a super cell. And while he's there, he meets up with old pal Alan the alien, who was voiced by Seth Rogen in the show. Alan and him plan a breakout, and this happens easily when Alan punches a hole through the prison, and now, well, you know how space works, everyone gets sucked outside. Now we're outside, let's fight. So a Viltrumite shows up to stop them, but the pair both prepare a mighty punch at the same time, and now there's pieces of that guy's brain just floating amongst the stars. But the fact that there are only a limited amount of Viltrumites left, they figure they can't hang out and celebrate this victory. Guys, there you have it. Those are just a handful of Omni-Man's victories. If a part 2 is something you desire, let us know in the comments. That's what they're there for. Also, to comment on how long my neck is. That's fine too. And if you want to check out other videos of Invincible characters, be sure to check out out our playlists. In fact, if you just hit subscribe, we'll do the rest for you. I've been your host, Taylor McWatters, and we'll see you next time on Top 10 Nerd. Peace.